Chapter 6. The beauty hypnotizes most people who ride in a helicopter above the magnificent Las Vegas Strip at night. They are in awe of the giant buildings and bright lights. Brian Greybolt sat next to Rizzer. He looked down at the green gate with an expression of disgust smeared across his face. Greybolt was blind to everything except the building that he was hovering above. As the chopper descended, the undeveloped grounds surrounding the hotel came into view. He could see the flicker of campfires. The pilot shined a spotlight over the property. Tents, trash, and squatters were clearly visible to the occupants of the helicopter. "Goddamn maggots!" Greybolt shouted. He adjusted his binoculars and zoomed in for a better view. He counted over 30 people below. Most were sitting by the campfires in small groups, and others were simply lingering about the property. He now understood why the value of his investment had dropped. Rizzer held a cell phone in his hand, waiting to make the call. He could tell by the expression on Greybolt's face that logic and the proper ways of handling the situation were beyond reach. "Make the damn call!" Greybolt shouted. When Rizzer put together his team of security specialists, he was careful to select only the most discreet men who took orders without questions, experienced men who specialize in extreme brutality. A white van approached the green gate. It didn't take long for the baton-carrying brutes to rush from the vehicle and begin their assault on the homeless camp. An enormous man with Nazi swastikas tattooed on his forearms grabbed an old lady by her matted gray hair. He lifted her off the ground and punched her several times in the face. The brute used just enough force to break her nose and bloody her lips. He threw her to the ground and kicked her butt as she scrambled away. They tore tents to pieces and set them on fire. One homeless man cried. Flames engulfed the shopping cart that contained all of his belongings. He became enraged and charged the perpetrator who had committed the act. His effort resulted in a swift blow to the kneecap. He fell down, and a boot connected with his face. Greybolt smiled and clapped his hands like a spectator watching his favorite sports team. He reached over to enthusiastically high-five Rizzer. Rizzer pretended not to notice. He kept his head turned toward the window. Thoughts of repercussions for tonight's unlawfulness entered his head. He knew Greybolt was immune to the consequences that other citizens face, but if the press got wind of this, or if a video submerged, things would get sticky. "Ha! Look at them run. They look like rats abandoning a sinking ship," Greybolt exclaimed. The helicopter made one last pass over the green gate, and then began its course back to the rooftop landing pad at Greybolt Tower. "What a fucked up way to end a fucked up day," Ray mumbled to himself as he lay hidden under an abandoned car. He had been lucky to wake from his slumber in time to see what was happening. He escaped the attackers unnoticed. The old shoe of the disheveled man fell off. He tripped and fell down in the street. For a moment he made eye contact with Ray. A black glove came into view. It fastened on the man's collar and drug him away. "Jesus Christ, what the hell is going on?" Ray muttered as his eyes drooped. Soon he was asleep. Chapter 7. Carly looked toward the night sky. A helicopter flew overhead as she and D-Dog neared their destination. Up ahead, Carly could see a red glow. It surprised her when a teenage girl jogged by. The girl had a gash on top of her head and appeared to be terrified. Carly called out. She wanted to ask the young lady if she was okay. The teen kept jogging. Soon another person, a Mexican carrying an armful of clothing, approached them. Carly stepped in front of him. "What's going on? Why are you running?" she asked. The Mexican looked frantically over his shoulder and then began speaking rapidly in Spanish. Carly didn't understand a word. She looked at D-Dog for help. "No comprendo," he replied. A white van sped away. Carly tried to make out the driver, but the windows were tinted black. When Carly reached the abandoned field, tents, backpacks, and old sleeping bags were smoldering in the darkness. There was not a person in sight. The smell of smoke and some other unidentified putrid odor hung in the night air. Carly's eyes stung. She began coughing. D-Dog offered her a piece of cloth from his pocket. She politely refused. It approached quickly and then skidded to a halt. Carly had never seen a dog like this. One eye was missing. Patches of bare fur and thorns adorned its coat, and worst of all, the mutt had one of its ears cut off. Carly assumed that the hacked-off ear was the work of whoever set fire to the camp. The dog stood at attention, making a whining growl. Its tail pointed straight up. Carly didn't move, but D-Dog showed no fear. He bent down and petted the mangy creature. The dog immediately relaxed. "He likes you," Carly said. "Of course he does. This is Triangle, Skip's pooch," D-Dog said with a sad tone in his voice. "Man, who go and do a thing like this?" "Who's Skip?" Carly asked. The dog carefully sat down and fell over. Carly understood how the mutt got its name. There was a white triangle on the dog's side. It was quite noticeable in contrast to the dog's black fur. "Skip, be one hell of a man. He and Triangle have been out here on these streets longer than anybody. If you have trouble, Skip will help you out." "How can we find Skip?" "He always be right here. This the first time Triangle not standing right next to him." As Carly and D-Dog headed back to the resource center, they noticed the flashing red and blue lights of a patrol car. An officer kicked a charred backpack. A few worthless items spilled out. Another policeman quickly jotted down a few words in his notebook. Carly expected little to come from their investigation. Carly knew from experience that crimes against the homeless drew little attention from the press, especially in tourist meccas such as Las Vegas. Most visitors never see the underbelly of the glamorous city. A casino shooting or the story of someone jumping off the Strat would barely make the nightly news. It would surprise her to see a report about what she had just witnessed appear on any network. Carly parted ways with her escort when they arrived at Leon's 24HR liquor store. It was a half block from the resource center. D-Dog gave Carly a fist bump and ran toward the store. The Uber ride back to her hotel room didn't take long. Carly was sore and tired. She had planned on making notes and contacting the car rental agency regarding the accident, but sleep hit her hard. She curled up on the soft mattress and dreamed of mangy dogs and burning shopping carts. After Ray woke up, he waited for the police to finish up their investigation. He crawled from his hiding place and returned to the patch of dirt that was located in the shadows of the Green Gate Hotel. The patch of dirt wasn't much, but Ray considered it home. Others had returned, but not many. A young lady who couldn't be much older than 16 scavenged through the miscellaneous items that were salvageable from the raid. She gave Ray an uneasy glance and moved away. Ray spotted a wine bottle only a few feet from his resting spot. The bottle was on its side and half of its contents stained the ground. The other half remained in the bottle. In one long swig, he finished it. The wine tasted cheap, stale, and almost undrinkable. He flung the bottle into the air and then took a few wobbly steps. A crazy old lady picked up the bottle and checked to see if there might be a few drops left in the bottle. She held it above her mouth, but nothing dripped out. She looked sad. When Skip approached, he was carrying his dog in his outstretched arms. Ray's blurry vision cleared. He recognized the man with the bulky body and red beard. He respected Skip. They had sat together silently by the campfire on several occasions. "They killed my dog," Skip said as his eyes filled with tears. One day, when Skip was making his rounds in a nearby neighborhood, a little girl handed him the dog. She then ran off. He had scrounged up enough money to buy his nightly bottle of booze. Instead of buying the liquor, Skip spent his cash on a small bag of dog food. Having a pet to care for helped him cut back on his drinking. He became more responsible. He found odd jobs here and there. Still, he couldn't escape the shackles of extreme poverty and street living. The young lady who had been scavenging the area joined Ray and Skip. She handed Skip a small blanket. He wrapped Triangle into a tight bundle and set him on the ground. "I'll bury him in a little while," he said. When the girl walked away, both men noticed the swell of her belly. Skip made a mental note to talk to her later. He knew places where pregnant girls could get help. Ray's knees buckled. He was soon lying on the ground with his head nestled next to Triangle's corpse. In a slurred voice, he muttered, "Those bastards killed your dog.